We are the one, the light in the dark. One heart, one world, one spark. We are the one, together we rise. One dream, one voice, one sky. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Empowered Across the World. And this is our podcast. And I have Jacqui Kebrdle from Arizona, and her heart is all over the world globally. And then I have Raksha, who is a host today from Miami. And she is a co facilitator for YEA Global. And we have the pleasure of having Jacqui. Jacqui, how do you say your last name again?
Yeah, it's always a good one.
Tab-
Kebrdle.
Tabardol.
Kebrdle. Yeah, you got it.
Okay, we have Jacqui as our guest today. And guys, she has a very inspiring life, and she's going to share that with us. And we're going to get it out everywhere so other women can be inspired by it. Jacqui, come join us.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to those that are listening wherever you are. It's great to be with you all. So Carol said, my name is Jacqui. I currently now live in Asheville, North Carolina. And I moved here from Miami, which was my second home since I was little. And it's been a really beautiful change. So, I was born in Manila, in the Philippines, and I was very fortunate. I was one of those. I was very fortunate to have had been born into the means. So, third world countries, there is no middle class. So, you come from one side or another side, and I was very fortunate to have had the means because I've had great parents. Both my parents they were entrepreneurs. Lived in many, traveled a lot growing up. I lived in many places, particularly long-term places like Pakistan and London, and obviously also the United States, right? And that showed me a lot of things culturally that my parents believed in that travel, shows you culture, shows you different ways to live and do, right? And be. And I'm very grateful for that. So, my mom, and it's always good, like I found it's always good to go to the source, right? And the source is our parents, and however that is, we come from our parents. That is just, there's no yeah buts about that, right? So my mom was a force of nature. She worked hard for everything in her life, and she chose not to go to college because she decided her father had a heart attack very young, so she took it upon herself to take care of her family, and that's what she did. She didn't go to college so that everybody else in her family could, right? So if I were to look at my mom today, my mom was a builder, an executor, right? She took care of everything and made sure things happened, right? Now let's take a look at my dad. My dad, fully educated, strategic man. So, worked with politics in Pakistan. Uh, but, when I say fully educated, it's hard to top. My dad went to Harvard, to Oxford, to St. Anthony's, like that kind of like, pedigree, so to speak, right? So my dad was a thinker. And here's the thing about the two of them. They couldn't have come from more separate sides of the educational path, right? But this is what they always said to me. Nobody can take away what one learns. Education in whatever way it comes from is ours to keep, right? So, fast forward to today, right? So here I am today after, like, let's just say like 22 years of a career, well, mind you, a career that was not planned. And I'm sharing this with all you as of the first, I'll make this public, but I am currently the incoming chief operating officer for a company called Chameleon Collective. And, what the company is it's a remote company. We were remote before everybody else was remote pre-pandemic. The company was designed to be remote, and it is it is for all of the people that do not want to follow the norm, right? And I'll share more about that in a little bit, but we run in a very, very specific structure. Most companies run at, let's just say 15-20% operational margin. We run at 8. So,
Oh,
yeah, and I wanted something different and I got it, right? So, here's what you want to know. My career was not planned. I didn't follow suit. I didn't follow my parents' path and what they've set up. One could say, I really did. I wanted something different. So, here I am. I drop out of my sophomore year in college, and I decide I want to go get on the job experience. You see, I want to, if you go back to like, well, what do you always want? When I was younger, I wanted to be an architect and then realized that, again, not following suit, I didn't want to do it on my parents' notoriety. So, then found out that without those connections, not so great, right? So I was like, you know what? Forget that. But the thing about being an architect, what it is that I really loved about it was you build things from nothing, from scratch. You get to pick everything that goes into this foundation. I don't know what it is about foundations. I love them, right? Materials. And then all of a sudden it becomes this thing that you leave behind that stays there for as long as it's allowed to stay there, right? So, in my career, I learned how to code I taught myself how to code in a weekend. I locked myself in the room because I was just like, I remember when the internet like started to really become a thing, right? And I'm like, hey, you put your mouse over this thing and something happens. And I'm like, how cool is that? So I was like, well, how do I do that? So I taught myself how to do it in a weekend. It really came down to always being curious about things. Like, how does that happen? What makes that work? Things like what do we need to execute on any of this stuff? And that's what built my career is asking the question, how?
mm,
Right? Not necessarily why, but how. How does that happen? And everything else is a learning. There's so many ways to learn today. And I wish we had AI then like we do now, right? Where you have Chat GPT who spells everything out for you today, right? And I honestly think that folks, there's a lot of talk today about people losing their jobs to AI. I offer that it's not that you will, it's the folks that know how to maximize AI for what it is that will do really well in the world as it shifts. Everybody wants everything now, quickly, and AI is just a catalyst that helps that, right? But I wish we had it. I didn't have it then. I have it now, right? And I still I utilize it in the same way around curiosity, right? You ask it a question, it gives you an answer. And then what you do with that answer is entirely up to you, right? So, my career is one of those, careful what you ask for, you just might get it. So, I started off I did the agency thing for a while. I worked in, those notable crazy agencies like Crispin Porter and Bogusky. I was there. I was in Sapient Nitro, which I think is now part of Publicis. But I did the whole agency bit. Then I also did the client side bit. I worked for companies like BurgerFi as the creative team marketing manager over there. Supported them at the time to start to go to franchises and to prepare themselves to go global, right? So worked on a lot of that. And then after that, and the client side is a joke if you're in an agency, right? It's just like, oh, the grass is always greener, client side. No, it's not. After that, I went and worked for Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay, again, at the same capacity, I became a burger head, essentially, right? In between that, I don't know if you all have heard of Winwood, but a buddy of mine, a really amazing, amazing soul, we branded Winwood. So we fell in love with this arts district, wanted to put a stamp on it. It wasn't about the money. It was about leaving something there that could be seen for an extended period of time as an experience, right? So when somebody comes to Winwood today, they'll be like, well, what's it about? And they look at this logo and maybe, just maybe, it can share what its possibility is. And that's the whole part. One could say I have a deep understanding of branding, of marketing, because I did. I've worked in agency, I've worked in consulting companies. But at the end of the day, it comes back down to how, right? How does one express something, whether it's tying in with clients' experiences, or a really good vision document, or a brand for a client is not just external, it's internal, that everybody experiences it for what it was created to be, right? So, I could go on and on, but ultimately, right, it was my experience in these fast casual kitchens, right? BurgerFi, Bobby Flay's restaurants, the burger joint specifically, where I really got to see that space is limited. Ingredients are very intentional because of the space. Things that I never thought I would care about, I did. And that was what it took to replicate it, to create menus, to create processes all around design, all of it, right? And so here comes this experience of being invited into Chameleon Collective. I'll never forget the founder. Is one of my dearest friends. He's like a brother to me. And in fact, there was a time in my life where addiction's a part of my story, right? And he gave me a chance when nobody else would, because I was, hey, come on, let's take it for what it is. I was a liability at the time, right? And so I'm happy to say today I'm actually, I have one of these at my desk today. I'm 12 years sober, so anything's possible in that realm, right? But there was a journey in there where, it really had to go through what it is. How is it that I wanted to live the rest of my life? And this guy, his name's Freddie Laker, he gave me, he really, he didn't give up on me. Not to say that my dearest friends did, but they did what was healthy for them, right? They had to put the space. And I appreciate that, right? Because today they're still my closest friends. And today they're like, hey, you're making your amends. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that. So this guy, Freddie's like, hey, I've got this thing. He starts to explain this model where at the time he wanted to run it at 5% operating. And I'm like, you've lost your mind. So I essentially came to prove him wrong. He can't do that. Well, I was right. He was wrong. We can't do it at 5, but we can do it at 8. So, so it's interesting what you're capable of, but I associate our model very similar to a fast casual kitchen. There are so many ingredients you can use, and you have to be really, really intentional with how it's being utilized. And the question you then start to ask is, what does the business need versus what does it want?
Mm.
I think with startups specifically, sometimes it becomes all about what we want, right? And then there is a playing field, but at an 8% operating margin, my game is about a stretch. How far can I leverage these funds? And that's become like a way I live my life today as well. Is just like, what my partner, who's amazing, also a graduate but of the forum, but her whole thing, their whole thing, sorry, their whole thing is this, is it's when I buy something today, anything, not that I can't afford to buy anything, but Tracy will always ask me, do you need that, or do you want it? And if it's something I want, I am to replace a part of my closet and give it away to somebody who doesn't have that, or who could use it, right? So, there, as we're going to start to see the world today, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, not necessarily based on anything else substantial, is that companies want more and more for less. Now, that doesn't make them bad. it just makes them resourceful, right? So you're going to see industries, there's so many industries right now that are either folding or they're struggling, right? And then we make these companies out to be horrible as opposed to just looking at, well, what's really happening here? People are trying to get the most out of their spend.
Mhm.
Easier said than done, mind you, right? And you know, it's just what's happening, right? I think in the next few years we're really going to see the resiliency and the resourcefulness of companies because there is no other way to move forward unless you're going with the flow. But yeah, so from a business perspective, that's what I do. From a personal perspective, and at the end of the day, it's like, what do we do this all for? Right? I love what I do. That's another thing my parents always told me is love what you do. And I've been very, very fortunate to have some really great mentors in my life. And, Freddie being one of them amongst a few, right? But this was the best thing that I keep it close to me is that make everybody around you better than you. Because
Mm.
if you're doing that, right? Like I can go do other things. I can try other things. People step up to leadership that way, you know, and that's a great way to give back, right? And I mean, I always try to picture this world of like, what if people just didn't have anything about anything? Feedback is great, that there's no resistance to it, and that we can just say what there is to be said without it going sour or misheard or whatever the case may be. And I think that the best way to do that is to really have open, transparent conversation, right? You always like to share what it is. So like, the folks in my team, and I love it. I've got young folks today, young folks, like really out of college young. And there's this one kid, he's 3 years into his career and you know, I'm I'm there to guide him if he wants it to be the next director of our company, and he's got all the chops to do that. But it comes in many different ways, and seeing talent and listening for it and supporting it, right, is the best way to go. And I think a lot of these industries, I mean, I work in an industry that is, first of all, male dominated, right? It's just what's so, right? Not so when you see a woman come up the ranks, it's like, yeah, and another thing too is like, I identify as a queer lesbian woman, right? So it's not like, hey, there's definitely, still some assessment around that still. And but I'm not going to have that stop me. At the end of the day, it's a group of folks that are out to do whatever it is that they're out to do. So it shouldn't matter what my gender is, shouldn't matter how I identify. It really shouldn't. And depending on who you're speaking to, there's still a stigma around it. Why? I don't understand. And I don't need to, right? I don't. I just need to go do what I want to do, and that is to leave whatever it is better than I found it. Whether that's of value or not to many, that's not for me to say, right? So, like as I went through, like, like I shared, addiction was a part of my story. And another thing that's a very big part of my story is personal and professional development. I did this thing called the Landmark Forum, I would say 8, 9 years, 8, maybe 9, 10 years ago. And that just really, really had me be accountable for all of the things that I was not responsible for. I didn't take any responsibility for it. And I went ahead and I did, for years, just developing myself in there. And, there's so many different ways one can develop themselves today. And another thing too is if we're not learning, we're stagnant, right? And there's many different ways to learn today, but I think if there's anything that I can share with folks is to never stop being curious. Because the moment that stops, it almost like life stops, right? And like I said, folks, the great things about these personal development experiences is we look at the how, we look at the why, we look at how it is that we're experiencing our lives. And here's the thing about our lives, it's connected to other people's lives. So now what does that look like? And so when people look at success, for me, success is like, all right, can I look at myself in the mirror, first of all, right? What kind of human's looking back at me,
Mm,
you know? And for a long time, I really, and it's still, and this will be an evolving journey, is like, well, what's that person like? Is that a person that can be trusted? Is that a person you want as an ally? Is that a person like that? And and everything that we do is an extension of that person looking back, right? Everybody has a thing. It's all valuable, it's all valid. Now the question is, how is it heard? And
mm,
I think ultimately, if we come down to what people want most, it's to be heard
mm, mm.
for whatever it is. So, in life with folks, like, don't be afraid to ask how. Don't be afraid to be curious, and don't be afraid that the plan doesn't go the way you thought. Because if that was the way it was,
Beautiful.
I'd be an architect today. And I hope that's really that's what I've got. I mean, like I don't know how this was gonna go. I've seen some of the podcasts, they've been incredible. But yeah, that's what I've got.
Jacqui, no, it was very inspiring right from the beginning inside of your mom and your dad and where you came from and what you have done with your life, and the different paths you've gone to into and then come back to where you are now. Thank you for sharing that. Your story is very inspiring, dear. You've come to such a place that I know you love your life. And that is what we want for everyone. When they hear these stories, that they get that they can love their life, that they can thrive in
Yeah.
life. And you just shared that with everyone. So thank you. Thank you
No,
so
you're welcome.
much.
Thank you for having me. And
And
you
Jacqui,
know,
I love that you shared that your success is not measured in what you have, what all your material things. Your success is measured in like that you can look yourself in the mirror. You you know who you are. Um, Me, I say my success is measured in my relationships because they are my mirror. They are all my relationships that I have. So I'm so thankful that you're on this planet because you do make a difference and you make it better. Thank you.
thank you.
So Raksha has a question. Go ahead,
Oh,
Raksha.
I have so much in common with Jackie,
Uh,
right? She referred to herself as the architect, and that's what I'm known in my community for. Because I literally do break down your lives. And then we set a solid foundation that you can build on, whether it's a one-story or a 10-story building, it's up to you. Um, the fact that you mentioned Wynwood, it's one of my favorite neighborhoods to go to. Here, my grandson and I visit it all the time. And I totally agree with you that it's not about what we accumulate, but the legacy we leave behind, right? Um,
Yeah.
so when I saw that you were in the Miami area, I got excited for a moment to say, oh, I could physically meet her, but she's in Asheville,
oh,
so I can't. But Jackie, um, so the Chameleon Collective, what is it all about?
Yeah,
I get that it's a
exactly.
publicity
I have no clue.
company. I mean, Chameleon is a wonderful name. I could easily be called one because I have so many hats I wear.
Yeah.
But I want to know a little bit more
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. So Chameleon Collective is some could say we're a consulting firm, some could say we're an agency. Here's the thing, we're we're that and we're not that. We have folks that are here. It's very selective, folks. We don't ever want to be more than 150 folks, but we do offer consulting services. We do offer thinkings. Let's just call them thinking services because these are C-level folks that just don't want to be in a corporate environment anymore. And they basically just want, and we provide the space for them to come and just use their superpowers. Essentially, what Chameleon Collective is, we take away all of the constructs of consulting, right? If you're a consultant, it's tough to scale. It's tough to have your insurances. There are certain things that you require, like your billing services, a technology stack, all of that fun
Mhm.
stuff. So we offer that to Chameleons, and then Chameleons then serve our clients utilizing what they do. So we do have a ton of thinkers. We have everything that you would imagine on a consulting scale. So we have your strategists, your growth experts, your interim leaders, your creatives, and so on and so forth. And with this environment, one could say it's a marketplace, right? They can then go ahead and scale up or down in teams to serve our clients.
Beautiful.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one last question,
Sure.
and I know Jackie has a bunch of things she wants to ask as well. So if somebody wanted to work with you, because you mentioned AI and how it's going to impact our lives, right? We either embrace it or
Yeah.
we sit on the sidelines. Well, a lot of us, we don't want to embrace, we don't want to sit on the sidelines. We want to learn more about it. How can we incorporate it into our daily lives and stuff? And that's one of my goals for 2025
Yeah,
is to
absolutely.
understand AI and share it with other women of age, right?
Yeah.
So that they can embrace it and use it in their daily life. How can people connect with you to find out, or do you even want them to connect with you directly? Maybe there's a group that you
Well,
have where
I'm
people,
I'm always I'm always open to have conversation.
okay. So
Yeah, well,
this
no,
is
no,
great.
no. No, this is so there was two questions there. So the first question is how does one become a part of Chameleon Collective? Well, you can reach out through the site, and we have folks from there is everybody in our company has to vouch for this person to come in.
Got it.
So the interviewing approach is slightly different in that case. So there's a rigorous vouching just to make sure it's what we need and these sort of things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
So
I
the web.
probably got it wrong.
Yeah.
Um, because not so much as a community, but to discuss, to get ideas, because I understand that there's some kind of a mastermind there
Yes,
that
there is.
people exchange ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to follow you, do
Mhm.
you have a group of that nature, like a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group, where people can just kind of come in, see what you're doing, follow you for a while, and then decide whether it's a good fit for them or not?
Yeah, so we do have all of our and I'm happy to share this information as well. So we have every social uh entity for it. We have it on Facebook, we have it on Insta, we
Oh,
have it on,
wonderful.
yeah. So it is the Chameleon Collective. You can find it just from that. And with regards to our offerings, all of that, it's all available on our website. And like I said, we've had people literally reach out to us to see, what we're about. And then we go through from there based on what's needed. We then fill put them up for interviews and these sort of things. So there is that. And then with regards to AI, what's great today is, I would recommend starting with Chat GPT. And if you were to say, hey, I want, Chat GPT tutorials, or even they have them now where they have like free online training for it. I
Yeah.
don't think you should pay for any of that, especially it's silly when there's so much there where you don't have to, right? But the basics of understanding, like you're interacting with AI is like, consider that you're interacting with, actually, you know what? With a child, right? You
Hmm.
ask it, you set the expectation, you set, so which I think that the thing is if you can treat it like you're having a conversation, and I'm going to say it like this, with another human,
Mhm.
and you're just
Yes.
literally being as detailed as possible with it because you're training it over time. You're training it. I remember there were these toys a long time ago where it was like the what was it? Not the Furby, but it was where you're training it to be like a pet. Well, Chat GPT is like you're training it to be like your assistant
Mhm.
Yeah.
essentially, right? And it can fill in the spaces, but it can take tone, how it is that you set context, what it is that you're looking for. You can ask it pretty much anything. And what's nice is like there is the free version. You can have it on your phone. In fact, you know how most people, I don't know, a lot of folks are like Google centric. Let's just ask Google. The shift in behavior is like, let's ask Chat GPT.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I'm looking forward to connecting with you
Oh yeah,
offline and
please, please.
find out more about this Chameleon Collective. It sounds very innovative.
Yes, it
So
is.
thank you again, Carol, for bringing an amazing guest
I
to
know.
the platform.
I love it. So Jackie, do you have a question for Jackie?
Yeah, well, now that I know pretty much what you do that I didn't know, as Raksha said, had no real clue. Were you doing branding? What were you doing? So I have a better idea. It's not real clear yet. I'm still getting there. However, my question would be, who would be your favorite client? You, not somebody
Hmm.
in your team. Who would be
Yeah.
your favorite client?
Ooh, I've had so much over the years. Oh, you know, so favorite one. So there was this a long time ago. You know, we worked on it. It was, you know, when viral was a thing, a big thing, right? So we had this. We it was for Mentos at the time, and we we hired an intern, this intern, and this was when, you know, we put him in a chat room, right? And he was just there literally to answer any questions that anybody might have had. But the way he did it with so much humor. Like he would be like, you know, they had him doing things that, like reenact the Civil War, and he would take this Mentos and go from one end of the room like a cannon to the other end of the room. And this kid became a celebrity. He ended up going in all the major talk shows. And what I like about it was not like, okay, so there was like the notoriety of, hey, it's for Mentos and hey, it's this. But it actually was just like all of a sudden a kid got this opportunity and it blew up. It literally blew up. He was offered so many things from it, which was really neat, right? And all from an idea of a bunch of folks sitting down and thought, could this be funny? Could this be great? What if? And that's what happened. So, you know, I've been fortunate to work on so many campaigns to that effect, right? But, you know, and here's the thing about that is we can share whatever we want. We really could. Somebody shared this idea, which then became this thing, which then got a bunch of notoriety and awards, and you name it, all those advertising awards, it got them to. But it came down to somebody shared an idea. And here we are now, right? You know, I could go on a list of so many different accounts, you know, Coca, it doesn't matter. So many different campaigns that I've worked on over time. And it always comes down to that. Somebody shares an idea, and then a group of people figure out how to build it, and then they execute it, and then it's out in the world.
Gotta take action.
Yeah,
Beautiful. Absolutely.
yeah.
That
That's a lot of like what Raksha does,
our
actually,
minds
too.
are amazing.
There
It is. That's why I
Really.
said we have so much
is really so
synergy.
much synergy. And I think
Um,
that you too, there are bound to be nuances that are different. I mean, I'm maybe wrong, but I think Jackie has more technology involved in what she's doing than Raksha
yes,
does.
yes, she does.
And the combination of those two is really, really, really powerful because you get the human spirit and the numerology and all of that part, and you add it to the technology and what you can do with it. You two really need to work together.
Yeah.
So, who would be another type of alliance that you would love to work with? I know your past clients
Yeah.
share the world that you're wonderful. However, is there a category of people that also would bring more to you? I call them an alliance.
Yeah, one of the things I'm actively looking at moving forward is, working with companies that have not necessarily like tech products, but products that are made for legacy, right? Services that are made for legacy. And what I mean by that is, like leaving something behind that'll make the world better. So I'm either looking at, there are companies that I advise for, and long as they're not, like I'm not not conflicting to what I do today, right? But and in my way to give back is to make sure that these companies have a strategic roadmap to go do what they do, right? Not necessarily looking to be a part of it long term, or maybe if it's rare enough, I'm looking for that next thing. I'm looking for new technologies, stuff of this nature, right? And today, if you think about it, even with AI tools as an example, I've gotten approached by so many folks that are like, hey, we want you to advise us on this AI thing. And I'm like, well, what does it do? And if the return on it is it's something that helps organizations or other, actually really youth, that it helps the youth have access to something they didn't have, I'm all for it.
Love that. So love that. All right, guys. We have to end, and this has been just an
Oh,
absolute amazing experience. And I knew it would be, Jackie. I knew it would be. And not that I know Jackie super well, guys, but what I do know of her is I know she is somebody that believes in integrity and believes in that she makes a difference and looking for the way to make the difference for many. So
yes.
thank you, Jackie. Thank you for bringing your story, inspiring us all. Um, I'm super excited for your new venture. Congrats. And
Thank you.
yeah, we need you on the planet. We need your innovative, your mind, your mindset on this planet, supporting many, many other companies to have those kinds of things in their companies. So thank you.
Oh, it's awesome. And
Absolutely.
thank you for all that you do, all of you. Really brilliant and beautiful what this community is creating.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, guys, if you love these episodes, please subscribe to the channel. Please comment, please like, and please share. Share it everywhere so many, many, many more women can be inspired and empowered. From Jackie's story today. We want to just thank you so much for being with us. And we have another episode every Monday and every Friday. And if you'd like to be a guest, guys, your story is inspiring. I promise you, your story is inspiring. Come and contact any one of us on LinkedIn. We're everywhere on LinkedIn. Contact us and let us know you'd like to be a guest on the podcast. We have many openings in
Okay.
February. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a thriving, thriving day and week. Bye.
Bye.
We need to have her.
We stand as one.